This time around, Eric, Laurence, and their fellow travelers can't escape the uncertainties of Antarctic navigation. A slalom between icebergs and fearsome growlers. These blocks of ice hidden between two waves. And Eric is not immune to the odd surprise.
Dede, put the map back up. So we'll enter like that to sail the boat there. But actually it's there. So there, this island is wrongly positioned, meaning the map is wrong. According to the map, we should be on an island when visibly, look, we're on the water floating. That's when you realize that the cartography on these shores is rather average, as our GPS location is correct. The boat is at the right spot on the map, except that the map is wrong. We should be at sea, but it places us on land.
Despite the boat's sophistication, vigilance is still required before the arrival at the next stop, one of the most beautiful sights in Antarctica, Primavera, the location of another Argentinian base. Very close to a specially protected area, which is notably to conserve these moss and lichens, on which, incidentally, it's forbidden to walk. But that doesn't prevent hundreds of gallons of oil from being stocked and used here.
It's crazy. There's not a single solar panel. There's not even an attempt to do anything. And you've got other stations which are much more advanced in this respect when, in my opinion, this is one of the most beautiful, at least it's located in one of the most beautiful spots, with millions of penguins all around. And well, it reeks of diesel oil, and there's an extraordinary noise. So, yeah, it's a bit contradictory.
Alain is testing the Planet Solar Foundation's solar kayak, a first in Antarctica, in order to monitor green energy capacities in the polar regions.
The research stations could do with using much more solar energy than is being used at present, at least during the summer months, during the period of high activity in Antarctica. The potential of solar energy is, in my opinion, and from what we've seen here, totally underrated in Antarctica.
The goal of the foundation? To promote the use of solar energy and to prove all its potential in order to protect our climate against greenhouse gases. Fortunately, the new generation of scientists intends to carry out research while fully limiting their impact.
What's rather surprising when you look around is that the scenery is rather mineral, austere. You wouldn't think for a minute that there's a possibility that life can develop, but actually in Antarctica all life is underwater. And in general, we don't really know what actual ecological functions the gelatinous planktons have. But what certain researchers have noticed is that there are more and more jellyfish and gelatinous plankton, which is believed to be in response to the ongoing climate change taking place in the oceans. That's reflected by a rise in temperatures and anoxic zones, which are numerous zones where the ocean is depleted of oxygen, which prohibits the proliferation of life other than bacteria. A whole chain starts to be turned upside down. This might be life, but the increase of gelatinous plankton is not necessarily a good sign.
The next part of the trip towards the tip of the peninsula will undoubtedly shed light on the place of humans on this frozen continent. But on the way, nature reasserts itself. For several days, a storm blocks the boat in a sheltered bay. Before the last leg, Esperanza Base. When arriving from afar, you wonder if we can still talk about a base. Argentina has established a real town here.
The Argentinians clearly and openly claim this part of Antarctica, which isn't an insignificant one, and which is part of the continent, as we're actually on the Antarctica Peninsula. I think that symbolically it's a very clear message.
Even though we're on a land of peace, as with several stations, we're welcomed by soldiers.
People are asking, why are there military people on the base? It's because we're the only ones trained to face the conditions in Antarctica and give logistical support to the scientists. This is the reason why military uniforms and camouflage are banned, along with weapons and military exercises, but we provide logistical support.
And it's not for its scientific breakthroughs that this base is well known, but for the birth of children. The first one was born here in 1979, followed by 7 more newborns. This is symbolic of a country that is claiming sovereignty in Antarctica. And even if birth stopped in the mid-1980s, people are still settling today with their families. In total, about 10 of them take up southern quarters for over a year. And everything has been planned to make their lives here feel a little bit like a home from home. Like this school, which welcomes around 10 children every year.
The program is the same, but we take into account the particularities of Antarctica. We make the most of our environment. We work on the wildlife, scientific studies. We capitalize on the support coming from the scientific studies. The scientists are not here, but we're connected via video conferencing. These are all the teachers and students from 1957 to 2019.
I think this is a rather remarkable place, thanks to the people here, and thanks to the way they organize the children's education, the way they plan the arrival of the children on site, and the families. It's a real town which takes into account the requirements of life in Antarctica and tries to put a certain number of people in the best position to understand the environment they find themselves in.
Being in the middle of the school break, the base is practically empty. Base leader Norman has stayed behind with his wife and 2 children. And in his opinion, even though the Argentinians want to hold on to their territorial claim, they're also the first ones to worry about the future of the treaty.
I think, and this is just a personal analysis, that Russia, the United States and China's interest isn't just a scientific one. And that's why we need the other countries, signatories of the Antarctic Treaty, to be resolute, to have a tough stance to make sure Antarctica stays the way it is today.
Before leaving the base, it's the turn of Laurence and her companions to be the subject of a question and answer session on the local radio.
This is the only radio that exists in Antarctica, a radio station which is connected to Argentina. Their communication capacities are noticeably superior to most stations found in Antarctica.
Each week, the radio broadcasts its own programs all over Argentina.
In the studio,
Laurence de la Ferrière, Hélène Dubrasquet, et Alain Blanc.
Helen and Laurence are French, and Alain is Swiss. Welcome to Air 36. Welcome to the Esperanza base.
To start with, the objective of the expedition was to retrace the route of Antarctica's first explorers in such a way as to tell the story of Antarctica from a historical point of view, as well as a scientific point of view, and also an ecological one.
And the answers obtained throughout this journey cause concern for Laurence, especially regarding the ban on exploiting the resources in Antarctica.
There really is an urgent need to ensure that the treaty is re-signed beyond 2048. Because they, like others, like the Chinese, like other stations, are clearly ready to claim a territory. And then it will be an open door to things that we can't even imagine today.
Will this natural preserve still be dedicated to peace and science for much longer? The planet's future and ours depend on it.